Hi, Paul Howe, CSAT Way. I'm going to break this video into two sections, but I'm going to cover one-dimensional training. And what that means is I see a lot of instructors out there that have a niche and it only covers one spectrum of the bandwidth. And so what that means is in the day, history, special ops, brought in a lot of the high-speed shooters out there, IPSC, IDPA, the Steel Challenge, if you would. And what would happen is these guys were good, but they hadn't broken the code on actual being a good trainer. So we'd get bits and pieces from them. And the big problem is I think only one of all I trained with was actually shot somebody. So we didn't get a lot of good feedback on the tactical side. We had to go on our own missions, come back, reinvent training, come back, do it again, back and forth, and adjust our training and training modules. So you have a couple different things you're looking at here. One dimensional, for example, I don't want to get into the military free fall / skydiving. Well, we had guys that used to skydive on the weekend. It's not the same. I'm going to have my guy splashing a picture here of a military free fall guy in the door. As a former jump master, I look at it, it's a Hollywood stage picture, because the first thing I look is I start scanning these guys and I see the guy in the door doesn't have any goggles on. They're still on his helmet. So it's either a stage photo, green screen, something like that, because he's not ready to go out that door. So he is an individual jumper, missed it, and the jump master missed it. So there's two, and then we took a picture of this guy in what I call a Hollywood mode. Now it's good to see how much gear, because basically MFF, you're flying a bundle, or the bundle's flying you. What you have to do is you're just falling to earth. You know, the fun stuff on the weekends is a lot different, and people go for the thrill, the adrenaline dumps, but it's two different worlds. How I got my first assault team was basically a guy got killed on a weekend jump, and he ended up dying, and I got my assault team. So that stuff can kill you. People take it for granted, and you've got to kind of pick and choose your battles in your training and what you're doing. It doesn't cross over. So we can take this next step to martial arts. In the day, I was very fortunate to work with the Gracie brothers, Hoist and Horion. Great guys, phenomenal athletes, martial artists. But what it was a narrow bandwidth mission. I never wanted to go to the ground. What I want to do as a TL, a tactical guy, is get up off the ground. And so a lot of fights go to the ground, but I like to stay on my feet at all costs. And if I have to go, I want to get up as efficiently and as quickly as possible. I don't want to stay there. I can't tie up one guy because I lose 25% if I have a 4-person team, 25% of my firepower with a guy wrestling somebody. So we don't do that. We violent engagements, violent disengagements. The problem is we bring these guys in, and guys that like to do it on the weekend, they would bring the folks in, we train. I might lose a week of training, half days doing this good stuff, but how much of it really applied to the mission? These are things that the tactical guys still have to drive the train and say, no, I need it or I don't need it, or if you want to practice this stuff, go do it on the weekend. So important stuff. Now that it kind of crosses over to you've got the IDPA, the fast shooters, the brown targets, it's all good. It's a training vehicle and it's fun. And if that's what you're doing it for, man, keep doing it. But it's not tactical, it's not reality. You have to solve one problem at a time and teach people to do that. So a lot of times in the early days of the shooters, we would get guys in, and what I want to know is how to hold the gun, the grip, my support hand grip. I want to know stance, locked arm versus bent arms, all that. And it needs to be done in gear. The problem is the original guys that we brought in never wore body armor, never wore the gear, never did missions, didn't put helmets on, gloves, all that. They were doing short matches and they were fast, but it wasn't reality based. We go to combat, come back, kind of upgrade our system. Combat again, come back, upgrade the system. And we'd always reinvent training to higher levels that would cross several spectrums. Well, what's that? Well, as an instructor now, I've got to be able to teach a civilian home defense. Then I teach teachers, school security, church security, SWAT guys, mill, federal government. It's got to go across the spectrum and cover all those different scenarios they're going to be in, from everything from hostage rescue to protection missions. If it doesn't, it's a one-dimensional move, and that's what you got to look for your instructors. How good is their background? Have they invested in their system? Have they thought through it, reverse engineered it? If they haven't, there's a problem right there. I got a checklist I'm reading. It's on one of my dummies' backs, believe it or not. But what happens is, let's see, I think I'm covering all the points. I'm going to throw a couple of videos up for you, and we do a follow-through cover scan. Well, We're going to throw a Brazil video in here of it looks like, I think she's a female officer, but she shoots a guy. And what happens is she shoots this guy, does good, but there's a lot of tactical mistakes. She almost gets bumped by a car, and then what happens is she gets right on top of him, and tunnel vision sinks in, and where there's one, there's two. She's not aware of that. This guy could have got delivered by a second bad guy, and she could get service right there. So think through this, your follow through cover scan, and does she need to be on top, or can she back off? Another video, you know, people talk about these instructors and they go, well, we don't need to look behind us. Well, we're going to splice in a little video here, just a short clip. I've got it titled South Africa. An officer up front has got priority shot. He starts moving. The guy behind him a few steps decides wants to make the shot and shoots him in the back of the head. That stuff happens out there. So when guys say you don't need to look behind you, I do it all the time because I've been in combat. I have felt muzzle blast, and what I want to do is know where they are, because if I need to move that direction, I don't want to walk into their bullet. We need to reteach them. All right, get on line with me. Don't shoot from that far back. The other thing is I can tell between an AK and an AR, maybe an AK slid in, and I need to relook at that area. Somebody's not picking up that sector. So the scanning, the looking, important stuff. And again, if people don't do that and teach it, they may not understand the rationale why, or they never put themselves through any kind of advanced training or been in a situation where they needed it. Well, here at CSAT, we do that, and that's the things I want to bring up. It kind of separates us from other schools. Now, people can badmouth us. I don't want to say badmouth us, but the technique, we'll say. And but I go, hey, brother, you know, I've seen it. I've seen some instructors say, hey, there's a guy on a balcony, and I'm going to shoot him. What am I going to look right and left? There's no place. Yeah, there's places to look. There are places to look like him. Does anybody come back out of that hole? Look at the roof lines, because if he's up there above us, there can be other people. So yes, I scan right, left, different directions. I do it all the time. When you start getting into a Mount urban environment, what happens is people can come out from all different directions. Your head needs to be on a swivel. If you haven't got people covering those areas, you need to be looking and seeing. So that's why we try to break that tunnel vision there. So what I'm going to do is leave you with this, and we're going to go to the range, and we're going to hit it and talk about why we do what we do with a gun in our hands. You take care, and I'll see you in just a moment. All right, Paul Howe, CSAT Way. I want to take a few moments and break down the one-shot drill, follow through cover and scan. And so a lot of instructors out there don't understand it. I've heard some other explanations. I'm going to give you my rationale on what we're doing and why. We look down range. What I've got is 3 discrimination targets is what we use. The hands are in 2 different spots. What I've got is an innocent right, innocent left, and in the center I've got my threat target with a weapon system. Now, what I'm going to do is engage the center target, and we'll talk about and break it down, the follow through cover scan, why we do what we do. Now, this has got to work for a single person, 2-person team, multi-team, and you want to have one system that works for civilians, law enforcement across the spectrum. I'm going to give you the rationale behind what we do. So the first thing I want to do is come up, check weapon system. I'm going to establish natural point of aim, and then we'll go ahead and engage. So what happens is, on my one shot, I'm going to come up, do my breathing sequence, nothing changes, repress my trigger. What I'm doing is, in my mind and on the gun, taking the slack out for another shot. If the gun were to reset, what I'm doing is taking it to the bump there. But I'll come up, he falls away. Now what happens is, I do straight trigger finger. I'm going to drop it down to where I can see the hands right, hands left, and my 2 other discrimination targets. Then what I do is I look at him on the ground. I drop the weapon below so I can see his total body, the weapon system, and his demeanor and actions. And then I'll come back in, and I'll clear right and left over my shoulder, because I'm either going to close on him or move to cover. And what happens is we've got to break this down now. So first thing, as I come out, I'm scanning. I don't know who these people are. It could be a law enforcement situation where they come in. We don't know if these are friends, family members. Got a female left. It could be the significant other of this person on the ground. Even though he's beat her for 4 years, and what happens is he pulls a gun, he gets shot, she's going to have empathy or sympathy, and we don't know her reactions to this. She might pull out a gun, she might go for his gun. So we've got to look at the whole situation and get out of that tunnel vision from our threat target. So I clean them, I drop weapon low, my trigger finger straight. You could go back to a Sewell position, that's an option, but the problem is then you've got to go to a flat range and practice rolling to your Sewell position as a shooting position. Next, I'm going to look at him on the ground. A lot of data I need to recover. I've gone from really tight focus, I've opened it up, then I go back to a sharp focus on him and look at him, his demeanor. Is he still? Is he flopping? Is he making a conscious movement for the weapon system? Is it still in his hand? I have to be able to visually recognize that and articulate it later and right now, should I need to service him again on the ground. Now, I come back in high ready position. What I want to do before I move is I clear right over my shoulder, left over my shoulder. I'm doing a couple things, and this actually applies from the street to combat, is I'm sensing, is there more shooting? I'm trying to sense where my people are and to make sure that I'm not going to get shot from somebody from behind trying to get trigger time or who perceive me as a potential threat. So what I'm going to do is clear right and left because I'm either going to close on this person, start giving verbal commands to these people, or I'm going to move to cover and wait for law enforcement and link up. Now I may close and start giving them verbal commands, lock this person down. Now these people are in shock, I'm going to need to yell at them, and this will take us to the next video segment, which is in a room, and all these things happen, and then more. When I say more, now we can have medical emergencies. We can have, I'm hurt, we can have the bad guy's hurt. If it's LE, they've got to treat. If it's a civilian that's hurt, we've got to move them in a way we can treat and watch the bad guy. So a lot of things go into play in this. We make it look simple for these brown target shooters. I don't want to call them IPSC guys and all that. They're good people. But the real world out there, you've got to solve this problem before you move on to the next. I hope this tip helps you, and I will see you guys on the range.